the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, hands up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. Oh, man, we're excited for Saturday. The two top teams in the Mountain West squaring off against one another. It's a heavyweight fight in the Mountain West Conference. 9-1 Utah State, 9-1 New Mexico. First time they've faced each other all season, and it's a battle to be the top team in the conference. A little bit of a battle for the top player in the conference. Certainly Donovan Dent, the way he's been playing in the last month, probably has the inside track by a good distance. But Ian Martinez, Mason Falslev could still make it interesting. But the two big teams squaring off tomorrow night, the biggest game in the Mountain West. When you look at the schedule for tomorrow, it's a loaded schedule throughout the Mountain West Conference. But that certainly is the highlight of the day. 7:30. Nationally broadcast on FS1. And we'll continue to take your score predictions for that game on the Young Power Sports text line, 435-339-0321. And if you do give us a score prediction and if you want to go, let us know if you want to go. But we are going to award tickets to go see the Salt Lake City Stars take on the Capital City Go-Go, which sounds like a weird name for a basketball team, but yeah, I don't know its origins, but that's what they're called. The only reason that we're really doing that is because there's a former Aggie on Capital City Go-Go, and that's Taylor Funk, and he'll be in Salt Lake, well, technically West Valley. The game will be at the Maverick Center, and if you want to go and check out the Stars or check out Taylor Funk and cheer him on, give us a score prediction on the Young Power Sports text line, 435-339-0321. And you can still give us a score prediction if you can't go. Just let us know if we should not consider you for the giveaway.
We're going to give you these tickets whether you like it or not.
That's right. You're going to go. Now, we know Utah State plays Wyoming that night, but it's not here. It's on the road. Aggie game is actually a little bit earlier, so you might be able to swing both. But great to go down and cheer on a former Aggie as he's trying to make it in the G League and hopefully get a call up to the NBA.
Yeah, it'd be funny, like Taylor Funk hits a three-pointer and, Utah Stars lose, and all of a sudden a small little section of Aggie fans are going, whoa, cheering on the Stars losing. Of course, I imagine that happens a decent amount. Like, there's not a ton of attendance at G League games. Usually it's just if there's
all seats are general admission, so it's not like they're assigned seats.
Yeah, and it's usually like if they're going to a place where maybe they have friends or family, that's where the biggest contingents. It's like when Jimmer came, like he was playing for, I think, Oklahoma City's G League team, and obviously when he came to face the Stars, every media in on the Wasatch Front decided to go to a G League game for some reason.
Right.
It's that kind of phenomenon. So in this case, a lot of Aggie fans can have some fun watching Taylor Funk. Kind of imagine Darius Brown will probably make his way around if he hasn't already.
Yeah, I've been looking for that. I was hoping that I think they call it the Cleveland Charge. That we had an opportunity to select from 4 different games that we could get some free tickets to an upcoming G League game, and that was the one that I was most interested in, but it wasn't of them. And so I looked at the rosters on all the other games, and yeah, Taylor Funk, he's still there with Capital City Go-Go. So 435-339-0321. Give us a score prediction for Saturday between Utah State and New Mexico. Big matchup between the top teams in the Mountain West. Two teams that, when you look at bracket matrix, those are two teams in the field right now, projected to go to the NCAA tournament. And I don't think either team is going to be affected really negatively either way by the outcome if they lose.
Yeah, barring it being a blowout one way or the other.
Yeah, so this is it could go a longer way for New Mexico to get a win on the road than it would for Utah State to get the win at home. But this is still an important one for standings and really just that pride and understanding of who the top team really is in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, if New Mexico wins, they probably jump from being like right now they're kind of projected as an 11 seed. They would maybe jump to being a 10 seed, maybe back end of a 9 seed. Utah State would drop from where they've jumped up to kind of being a 7 seed according to Bracket Matrix. I know some places have them as high as 5, but most have them as a 7 or 8, with a few outliers going down to 10 or some as high as 5. They'd probably drop to being like an 8 seed or something like that. So kind of one up, one down would be the result. Utah State probably doesn't jump too much with the win over New Mexico, but they would go up. When you win at home against a good team, you get a slight bump, but you're supposed to win at home when you're a good team. But for New Mexico, it'd be huge because getting a win on the road, that's a pretty big deal for them. But yeah, in the end, it's a battle for first place for now. That's kind of the biggest thing is it's a for now thing. But obviously, it's better to be in first place for now than it is to not be in first place for now. So obviously, Aggie fans know which one they'd prefer. The teams know which one they prefer. So it's going to come down to which team comes out and has a better game. Can one team just go out there and catch fire like Utah State? They've had several games recently where they just go out and they're on fire. They're hitting lots of shots, hit a lot of three-pointers. And if they do that against New Mexico, they're very likely to win. Or it could end up being a defensive grinded-out game. Both teams have been involved in those games. New Mexico, for all the fast pace and high scoring they do, they've been in some grinded-out games. And they've won a lot of those games. Beat UNLV in a real, 75-73. Beat Wyoming, was it 61-53? Beat San Diego State, held San Diego State to 48 points. New Mexico can grind out if they have to. Utah State can grind it out if they have to. So it's going to be a very interesting game, a very interesting chess match, and this depends on how these teams come out and play. Do we get a 90-90 game or a 70-70 game?
Yeah. So for me, my score prediction for this game, somebody asked me this earlier today, and I'm going to revise it slightly, but not by too much. I've got Utah State 81 and New Mexico 77. I think it will be a close game. It'll be an uncomfortable game. But I think that the crowd and I just think the skill level and balance that Utah State presents in depth ultimately gives them the edge in this one, and they win a close game between the top teams in the Mountain West.
Yeah, I think I have a hard time doing score predictions in basketball just because there's such a wide variety of games we could see, and I have a hard time figuring out which one I like most because part of me thinks this is going to be a game that finishes in the mid-80s for both teams. So I'd probably say something like 85-81 for the Aggies, something to that effect. I think it'll be interesting because Utah State will probably start off a bit slower, and New Mexico, they may end up getting a 5, 6, 7 point lead early on. And at that point, we'll kind of see what Utah State is made of because they're either going to 5 or 6 minutes into the game, pull back in, have a run to either take the lead or tie it up, and then the teams are roughly even for most of the game, or we could see New Mexico run away with it. I don't know if Utah State's just going to rush out because they just so rarely have hot starts. It's just that's not something they do. The most realistic ideal scenario was just Utah State starts slow and they force New Mexico to also start slow. But I think it'll be pretty likely that New Mexico starts with the lead, Utah State catches up after a bit of a slow start, and then you see them play close. The Aggies eventually pull away because I think they can have I've talked about this in just about every game, every game recap where I say, well, they were not great at some points, but when the game was close, they pulled ahead. It was that way with Air Force, UNLV, even Nevada to a degree. Mm-hmm. And I think they could do a similar thing. Obviously, it won't be like a 10-0, 13, 15-0, some of the stuff they were doing to Air Force in Nevada, but they can have a couple of 6-0, a 7-0 run, something like that, to pull ahead and slightly away of New Mexico to come away with a close win there.
A couple of texts coming through on the Young Power Sports text line, 9315. UVU, the real team down south, has a big game for first place tomorrow also. They're playing Grand Canyon. So those are some of the top teams in the WAC. Utah Valley is 7-0, and Grand Canyon 6-1. Utah Valley's had a very nice season.
And the Mountain West should bring Utah Valley in.
That's right. Keep their presence in the state of Utah.
Utah Valley is like the little brother to Utah State in basketball because they've kept losing their coaches too. Like they lost a coach to BYU, they lost a coach to Cal. Like they can't hang on to their good coaches either. So,
yeah.
But they still keep being solid.
Yeah.
So it's obviously they're in a smaller conference, but they do pretty well for themselves.
1-2-3-2 with the score prediction. I agree, 81-78 for the Aggies. I don't think the crowd will let the Aggies start slow.
The crowd doesn't shoot the ball. That's my only problem.
Yeah, crowd doesn't decide. They can get excited and they'll get up and they'll try to do what they can to help the home team. But
it's just we've seen the Aggies start slow on offense just way too many times at home, just way too many times in general. I mean, the crowd's going to have an impact. I think it can have a big impact. It might help their defense a little bit more early on. Getting loud, maybe getting into the head of New Mexico a little bit, maybe impact their offense a little bit. But like if the Aggies do, like, I think the thing with the crowd is the crowd tends to amplify what the team is already able to bring. So if Utah State hits a couple of early shots, the crowd injects more and the team can kind of get rolling. So like, I don't know if the crowd creates something out of nothing, but they just amplify what the team already kind of brings. And it's this kind of self-perpetuating cycle, but something's got to start it. The crowd can't start things for the Aggie offense, but they can certainly build that momentum and create a little bit more than the team could create if the gym was just empty.
It's a busy day in the Mountain West on Saturday. It starts at 2:00 in the afternoon. Fresno State at Boise State. Broncos struggling on the road, playing well at home. See if that will continue. Fresno State has proven difficult for some teams. But that's going to be at 2:00. At 3:00, Air Force is at San Jose. San Jose took San Diego State to the wire. And they played very well. I mean, they beat New Mexico. They've proven they can play very, very stout basketball. They just don't have a lot of wins, but this one might be an opportunity for them to get another win and move up the standings a little bit. Then we get to some nationally broadcast games later in the day at 6:00, Wyoming at San Diego State. And that's going to be on CBS Sports Network. For the good of the conference, the Aztecs need a solid performance on national TV.
They just need to win. That's it.
Yeah. 7:30, that's the Utah State-New Mexico game on FS1. And at 8:00 on CBS Sports Network, the in-state rivalry game, UNLV and Nevada, that game being played in Reno.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, the first thing you got to do in preview this game is figure out, okay, is it in Lawler? Okay, yes, it is. Do they have a band? Yes, they do. All right, Nevada's good to go. They'll have a chance against UNLV. Of course, last time they had a band in a home court, they lost to San Diego State. And of course, Nevada coming off the loss to Boise. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that game really the other day. We ended up just kind of we ran out of time talking about other things. It was the only other game that happened on that Wednesday where Utah State beat UNLV. Only other Mountain West game, I should specify. But Boise getting back a little bit of momentum that they lost most of, if not all of it. I mean, Leon Rice was literally saying they hit rock bottom. But they're 6-4 now, got to win. Now Nevada's kind of hit rock bottom because they have a worse conference record than Wyoming.
Okay, so here's my question to you, Jason. For the good of the conference, which team would be better if they were to win between Nevada and UNLV?
I don't think it matters.
Nevada is, like you said, 3-7 in conference play. UNLV is 5-5. Utah State beat Nevada twice, split the series with UNLV. So do you want UNLV to look better, or do you want Nevada to look better since they've got the better net ranking by 30 points?
I mean, it's kind of a wash. I mean, you'd like Nevada to get back into quad one tech because aren't they no longer a quad one win?
Correct.
So maybe you'd want Nevada to be better because you can add another quad one, because that's like a big thing that people look at. How many quad one wins do you have? Mm-hmm. And UNLV is not going to be, you're not getting a quad one win out of them. Like the best you're going to get is, I guess, a quad one loss instead of a quad two loss, which I guess looks slightly better. But it's a wash. Like nothing about the conference prestige is changing no matter who wins. Utah State's like, if Nevada wins, it pushes them closer to being quad one win. If UNLV wins, then you get closer to having a quad one loss instead of a quad two loss. Like whatever good there is, there's something, just as, of course, and the good is only a slight bump up and the bad is only a slight bump down. So really, I don't think there's a for the good of the conference out of this, and there's not a for the good of Utah State strength of schedule coming out of this. It just kind of is what it is.
It's very narrow in either direction between those two teams. So it's. I don't know that I really have a rooting interest in that game. Normally, I try to evaluate which would be the better scenario here. I am somewhat hopeful that Nevada can find a way to win more games based on what they did in the non-conference. And I know they've really stumbled in conference play, but it would be interesting for them to improve that a little bit. So I might be rooting a little bit more for Nevada in that one over UNLV. But again, the outcome and how it affects Utah State are marginal. And how you look at the grand scheme of things here. But 435-23, I almost did it again. 435-339.
Do I need to put it on a sticky note?
I need big sign in here or somewhere. 339-0321. That's a Full Court Press text line. And the sponsored by Young Power Sports. Love to get your pregame predictions for tomorrow, Utah State versus New Mexico. 9315 says there is for the good of the fans with how dumb UNLV fans are on Twitter. Okay.
Wait, sorry.
Are the UNLV fans worse than the Nevada fans?
Yes, UNLV
on social
fans,
media.
UNLV Nevada fans. I don't know if I've really met a toxic Nevada fan. Maybe I haven't. I just forgot. But there's it's relatively small, but still very vocal contingent of weirdly toxic UNLV fans.
There we go. So let's cheer for Nevada then.
And I don't have like a team to root for in terms of chaos. Like they're both in the middle of the conference. You've already got your pound of flesh from Nevada for rooting for chaos. Now you just kind of feel bad for them at this point. But UNLV, it's like, I don't know, they're 5-5 in conference play. Like, I don't know. And how long can you stretch out the whole, meme about, playing at Lawler and having a band? Like, I'm already stretching that out more than I probably should. It's just, I don't know. There's just not a whole lot of ways that I can find interesting in this game. Obviously, for both of those teams, there is plenty to be in. It's an in-state rivalry. For them, it is a huge thing. But looking at it from the outside, you should probably get a good basketball game. I may end up watching it just for that, but I can't manufacture a reason to root for either team. So it's just kind of if it's a good basketball game, I'm like, well, actually, I'm not going to tune into that game for one specific reason.
You're going to be preoccupied.
Yeah, a little
too close.
I'll probably follow the score then is what I'll do. But yeah, I won't get to watch much basketball that night. I'll watch Boise Fresno if it turns out to be close, but I think Boise will. I should be careful. Every time I say a team's going to blow another one, I end up being wrong. So maybe I should shut my mouth. Or maybe I should say something because then I can root for chaos.
Ken Palm has Nevada favored.
I was trying
70-64 is the predicted score.
I thought I saw somebody reference something where like some guy would like calculate a rooting guide based on like projected chances to make the tournament or something. I thought I saw them mention something regarding a Mountain West game a while back, and I was trying to find it. I was like, is there a rooting guide that somebody creates using analytics? And it's like, I don't know. To see which team, because it's just kind of funny. Like, which team would you rather root for, UNLV or Nevada? And it's like, I don't know. Like, you can do the whole for the good of the conference for every single other game. But, it's kind of like Utah State, New Mexico. Like, what's for the good of the conference? to be honest, it's probably New Mexico winning for being, just to give them a better chance of making the tournament. But either way, both teams are going to be contending. Both teams are probably going to be in the tournament. So there's not really a for the good of the conference type thing.
Yeah, very true. Very true. 435-339-0321.
There you go.
On the Young Power Sports text line. Give us your score or your prediction for tomorrow night, Utah State versus New Mexico. I got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press, but when we come back, there's some changes afoot in name, image, likeness. There was a lawsuit about putting caps on NIL opportunities, and looks like a judge has made a ruling on that. So we'll discuss how what that was and how that might affect the future of college athletics. And then also another report about media rights. ACC got a little bit of an extension with ESPN that might settle some things down with them. There's also been rumors about the Mountain West and the Pac-12 future media rights. What are the values of those and how do they compare to each other? We'll discuss next here on the Full Court Press.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. It's just another way we install confidence. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. This is a story that came to us from a real customer, and I wanted to share it with you.
We came in looking for a scooter for our mother. The staff at Alpine showed us different options for scooters and battery-operated wheelchairs and helped us find one that was easy for her to handle and easy for us to get in and out of her car. They have fabulous customer service.
We love hearing about your experiences. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Happy New Year! You survived the holidays. This is Jarek at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Did you meet the family during the holidays? How was that? Is it time to go engagement ring shopping? Valentine's Day is coming, but why wait? Do it now. Bring her in and view our collection of over 3,000 rings. With many of them being our own custom designs, I know we will find the perfect one. At Jarek's Fine Jewelry, we make it special. So come make it Jarek.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarek's.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, 8968 texting in. I don't care for the good of the conference. As an institute that has designated back seats for years, I will always go for the good of the Aggies. Yeah. Oh, that's, that if the conference does well, that means the Aggies do well. If the conference sends 3 teams or they send 4 teams, if they send 4 teams, that's better for the Aggies. If they send 2 teams, that's not as good for the Aggies.
How does Air Force feel about all these teams that keep going to the NCAA tournament?
They get a lot of money. They get the money that comes in. The more teams that go, the more money that comes into the conference and the schools specifically.
And do what with it?
Well, it helps fund their athletic budgets.
They have the U.S. government to fund their athletic budget. Why doesn't Air Force like win the thing every year? Like how much money they spend on the military industrial complex? Just spend like $5 billion on Air Force's athletics.
At some point, you got to wonder
if they just gave
how much is that money really worth?
If they just gave our
national security or get that great wide receiver from
imagine
Tennessee.
If you get like you spend like you have a 5-star recruit, a $2 million NIL deal, stick around the Air Force and then get him into the actual Air Force. You don't think getting like a 6'5", 500-pound 5-star recruit offensive lineman wouldn't be good for? I mean, he might be better for the Marines than for the Air Force. You don't want to fit a guy that big in an airplane. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's like when they recruited the 7-foot guy. Like he may not be an pilot, but like you can get a mechanic out there. He doesn't even need a step stool to fix.
Yeah, that's right. They need a big support staff to get those planes in the air.
Yeah, literally a big support staff.
9315. Texting in, I agree. Our new model from here on out is for the good of the Aggies.
Yeah, for the good of the Aggies. But Eric does when games not involving the Aggies, he's always for the good of the conference. And I'm like the sickos committee. Like, yes, go Wyoming.
You're just for chaos, and I'm for the conference.
Chaos is fun.
8968. Air Force spends their cut on football.
Yeah, probably. Because their football actually has an avenue to being successful. Their basketball programs tend to not.
Speaking of spending money on players, about a year ago, there was an injunction that was filed against the NCAA that was about name, image, likeness. And it was filed in Tennessee and in Virginia, but it allowed booster-funded NIL collectives to negotiate deals on their own with high school recruits, transfer portal players, before they even committed to their respective schools. On Friday, the state of Tennessee and the NCAA, they reached a settlement agreement, and so according to that filing, it won't interfere with that House versus NCAA settlement, which is a big deal, which is supposed to start this next summer.
Is it not going to interfere with it?
But I don't know. It just still continues to be messy.
Do I need to break out my collective bargaining rant again?
I think that's where we're headed, and I think this decision gets us closer to that eventuality.
Yeah, because here's the problem with this, and everyone who's reporting on this House settlement and everyone who's looking into it and seeing what they're trying to plan just immediately sees the problem, because they're basically trying to create, they got revenue sharing, which is something that should have been in the sport a long time ago, but NCAA greedy. We've done this song and dance before. But now they're trying to basically, create contracts, but they've opened Pandora's box with NIL. Because the thing that makes the NCAA unique among pro sports, at least kind of more unique, is that with pro sports, they just kind of function themselves. They make money. They have corporate sponsors, things like that. But they don't have like these mega donors that, just dump money into the program. Like Ohio State, you think they can afford their, $200 million budget or whatever it is, if they didn't have people just dumping money into the program year after year, bunch of donors.
The case in question here was Tennessee sent a private plane to go get a quarterback to fly him into Knoxville, literally wine and dine him to and give him hard cash money before he'd even committed.
Yeah.
To sign to be a quarterback at Tennessee.
Yeah, but like the thing here is like we've opened Pandora's box with NIL, where it's like, because of the culture we have in the NCAA where they literally just ask for donations. Like, it's not even a business transaction where the NFL and NBA, you buy a ticket, you buy a bobblehead, you buy a jersey, that goes to the team. You watch on TV, some of that goes to the team. Like, it's all transactional for the most part. In college, a lot of it is just donate. You don't get anything back. It's just you donate to the school that you're an alum of, and you your reward is the team is better, I guess, if you donate enough money. That's the promise, at least. So we've already opened that Pandora's box. So like there's already this culture now of donate to NIL that pays the players. But the NCAA is trying to roll back the clock on that and say, wait, no, not NIL. Don't do NIL. Just pay the players revenue sharing. That's the new NIL. And they're trying to put in these guardrails because that was the buzzword of like 2 years ago. NIL needs guardrails, says every single boomer on the radio for like three whole months throughout an entire summer. Everyone was freaking out about NIL. So they're trying to put in guardrails. But it turns out the second somebody walks up to the guardrail and pushes slightly with their finger, the guardrail tumbles off the cliff at 100 miles an hour.
It's not anchored.
It's not a guardrail, and there's no legal basis for limiting NIL. This is America. You can't tell somebody, two people are doing a business transaction. As dumb as that business transaction is, there's some legal framework, but for the most part, you can't just go up to them and say, hey, you can't do that. It's America. It's capitalism.
Right.
It may be saying, I'm going to give you $2 million so you can show up to this soup kitchen for an hour and talk to some kids. But it may sound stupid, but that's a business transaction. Essentially, it's a donation, but it counts as a business transaction because of the way this all works. So we've already opened that gate, and people are already doing it, and there's no way you can stop it now. You can't put it back in. Cat's out of the bag, Pandora's box, whatever other metaphors there are. Pick your favorite one and use it. The NCAA is trying to roll back the clock, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. And that's why, what are the two words I always use in this conversation, Eric? Collective bargaining.
Collective bargaining, yes.
Collective bargaining. Because
Yes.
then that's when both sides, because the NCAA is just trying to say, bam, this is how it is. And I know in the House settlement, there's kind of a two sides thing. They are trying to agree, but collective bargaining is legal. It's like the NDAs or the terms of service that you sign and, sign your rights away to Apple or Facebook or whatever. But both sides can come together, collectively bargain, create a union, and that way you can actually create legal guardrails. Like you could actually say, hey, you can't accept like this much in NIL because both sides have agreed and said, no, you can't do this. But both sides have said that because right now it's just the NCAA trying to do what they've always done and just play God and tell these athletes what they can and cannot do. The athletes are fighting back, and because they actually have the legal framework to do it, they are winning, and they are kicking the NCAA's butt. Like it's Mike Tyson versus me in the boxing ring.
Yeah, the latest also in conjunction with that, I guess it's connected to it, is this new agreement for this House versus NCAA settlement, where it does involve revenue sharing. That's part of it. But it also will begin an NIL clearinghouse. Any third-party deals more than $600 have to be approved by this clearinghouse. And so the part of it is also that this created a lot of red flags among a lot of other groups that when they were trying to do revenue sharing, these institutions were saying, okay, if we're sharing the revenue that gets generated, that revenue needs to be shared, kind of based on who created that revenue. So football, you're going to get the lion's share of this. And men's basketball, you're going to get a significant portion of it as well. And what's left over? Not very much.
Yeah, we'll
so
split
like
it with
women's tennis, good luck. Track and field, you're not going to get any of this.
Yeah.
And so those groups are starting to file against this saying, hey, you're violating Title IX. You're giving them financial incentives, financial aid while they're in school. We're at the same school. We qualify under the same banner. Why aren't we getting a piece of that cheddar as well?
Yeah, and this is why I almost feel like the best move for football is to basically become an organization just completely independent of the schools themselves, like the academic side of the schools. Basically become a football league, and the school happens to sponsor it, but in a different legal framework, if that makes sense.
I think that's where it ultimately has to go, because that will clear up this stuff that we see with Cal and Stanford playing in the ACC and having to there was a.
That stuff may still happen unless they manage to create some kind of regional.
Well, it makes sense, okay, for football, but does it really make sense for volleyball? Does it make sense for swimming? Where they've already their athletic teams have already racked up like 56,000 miles of travel in the 7 months, 8 months that they've been in that conference.
Hey, but think of all the frequent flyer miles they're getting.
Yeah. So when you do that, when you just separate football out and make football its own thing, because it can and should operate under its own framework, then you can get back to regional rivalries, regional travel that does make a lot more sense for all the other sports.
Yeah, and like if you separated football, you could end up creating an entity that's more like the NFL, where it's like more equal. Because the biggest problem with conferences right now is some conferences get, like $80 million a team for their media deal. Some get $30 million. Like, you can create something that's more equal. Now, that may just be for the power conference. Maybe they're the only ones who split off and do something like that. But I don't know. I feel like a fixed, like an NCAA that finds some kind of long-term fix is like 10 years down the road, because the NCAA is making its way towards its modern, finally get out of the, excuse me, they're moving from the exploitative, don't give the athletes any money. They're just exploiting them for billions of dollars. And they're eventually going to move toward a more professional model that has, the collective bargaining. But the problem is the NCAA is going to smack its face on every single rock on the path to that eventuality, where it becomes more equal, where it becomes more sense, where you get the conferences back regionally. Like, I feel like you're eventually going to get back to that. But as I said, the NCAA is going to trip on every rock, face plant at every turn. It's going to take them forever to finally realize it, because as the NCAA has always done, they have fought this every step of the way. They fought so hard against NIL because my amateurism, and they fought against a playoff because my regular season. Like, they are so stubborn, and they will do literally everything except exercise common sense. But eventually, they're going to realize none of these fixes work. You can't make this clearinghouse. And I'm just doing the collective bargaining rant again. I think you guys are tired of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, today was just another setback and another loss by the NCAA in its enforcement ability. And there's more challenges on the way, currently on the books, headed their way. 9315 with a number of texts coming through. I'll try to get through these and make the most sense of them as we can.
This last one is or second to last one is my favorite.
Let's see. Why can't he be for the good of chaos, Eric? Just think how much you could make if done right, making Wendover.
Okay. Me rooting for chaos means I would be a terrible gambler.
That would not be good if you're just for chaos. Can you use more cats to get more cat out of the wall? This is kind of what people are doing with NIL before today and still doing now, but just not hiding it. So just cats on cats in more of the same wall.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that.
I don't know that analogy. I do know Bronco had a great way to fix transfer and NIL in college. The NCAA needs to hire him on the side if USU contract would allow it, and boom, it fixed.
Well, I mean, everyone has ideas, but none of them work unless it's like, maybe I'm too far into this collective bargaining idea, but tell me which of the ideas don't immediately face legal problems. Because most fixes are, we'll just go back to the way it was before. Like, I had an idea about, the transfers. My whole thing about, like, you can transfer once before the start of your sophomore season. I had my idea, but that doesn't work. You can't do it because it puts limits that you're going to get sued and you're going to lose that.
Yeah.
Find me a system that doesn't face that immediate legal problem of restricting someone's movement that doesn't involve some kind of collective bargaining. I can't. If you can think of one, please tell me. But I can't think of one. So, like, it's always just runs into this immediate legal problem. Like, it may be a good idea. It may fix NIL. It may fix transfers. But the NCAA already tried an old method that had a pretty good handle on keeping people from transferring. That was found to not have legal grounds. You can't go back to it.
A couple other texts here. Just think how many checks from one wealthy guy for $600 is going to be written to some 5-star recruit.
Yeah, I think that would just be hilarious. Like somebody just basically gives him $1 million in $599 checks. Just a briefcase, and instead of like the $100 bills, it's $599 checks.
Got to cash them one at a time.
Yeah, basically got a one piece at a time.
So his millions of NIL to not have to be approved and makes a loophole.
Oh yeah, he's following up another text.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a mess. It's messy, and it may get worse before it gets any better.
Oh, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get messy. It's not gonna break college sports, but it's gonna make it uglier. And again, like the analogy, the NCAA will hit its face on every single pothole and every single rock on its way to eventually getting, hopefully, to the right place. And like most people who hit their face on rocks, it tends to look a little ugly for a minute.
Yeah, the NCAA has no enforcement power. Taking another time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to continue to hear from you on the Young Power Sports text line, 435-339-0321.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Did you know Daryl's technicians are factory authorized and trained to do your warranty work? This is Jay with Daryl's. Our repairmen have access to the largest parts department in northern Utah. That means we often get repair done the first visit. Schedule your appliance repair today to lock in your no-risk service. If you want new instead, you can apply your trip charge to an appliance purchase. See store for details. Daryl's west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your health matters.
Happy winter. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street, where we make winter fun. We are your ski, snowboard, snowshoe, and cross-country ski rental shop. Come in and rent for the day or longer and have a great time outside. We also have great deals on new skis, boots, bindings, underwear, and outerwear, so you are comfortable playing in the snow. See the Sportsman for the best deals, the best service, and most unique products you will find for the outdoors. Only at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. And we always love to hear from you as well. The Young Power Sports Full Court Press text line, 339-0321. Got it right that time. Had to think about it.
You think it's so hard every time you do it.
Where my head is at right now. 435-339-0321. Utah State taking on New Mexico tomorrow night. Big showdown between the top teams in the Mountain West Conference. Both are 9-1. And if Utah State wins this, I got to think they'll be back into the top 25. If New Mexico wins this, I don't know if they'll be ranked in the top 25, but they'll be receiving votes and they'll be getting close.
It'll be a lot like when Utah State had that stretch where they beat St. Mary's, San Diego State, Nevada. They'll get close. They won't quite get in. If the Aggies are ranked, it would be a different-ish story. They maybe get a little bit closer because, what's the formula? It's either winning a bunch of games in a row and eventually they pay attention to you, or you beat a ranked team. Those are the two things that get you in. The Aggies are more on the former if they beat New Mexico, or just they weren't that far out. They're getting a little bit closer. So, yeah, if they beat New Mexico, I'd be surprised if they weren't ranked. if they aren't ranked, it'll be by like 1 or 2 points, and they'll be 26th. But they're already fairly close to being ranked this last week. They weren't too far off the number 25 team. I didn't need to double check, though, because I think Arizona was kind of close to being ranked, and they just beat Iowa State. So I don't know how that may impact things. And I meant to check the rankings to see how that might impact it. Arizona's not even... They weren't even receiving. Oh, no, they were. They're a little behind. They got 47 points. The Aggies got 99. So Arizona's probably going to leapfrog the Aggies. That might throw a wrench in it, but I don't know. It depends on what Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and UConn do. I think UConn almost lost the other day, but then they didn't. So that's the other thing coming into play.
Right, yeah. You need teams that are ranked to lose and to stumble so that you can move in and take their spot. Talking about big games, we got some big games in high school basketball going on tonight. And perhaps the biggest is talking about teams that are on the top of their conference or their region. We've got Green Canyon hosting Ridgeline tonight. Both teams with only one loss in region play. Green Canyon's loss was to Ridgeline. Ridgeline loss, that was to Skyview. But right now, those are the two teams on top of Region 11. They square off this evening in North Logan. Stockton Jukes will be on the call along with Terrell Baldwin. It'll be broadcast on 100.9 Light FM as well as 104.5 The Ranch and video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. A big showdown for the it'd be hard for, I mean, you're only a game behind, but looking at some of the games that are left, not very many games left on the schedule for both teams.
Yeah, this one's pretty much going to decide Region 11. Whoever wins this game wins region. I know mathematically that's not technically correct at this point. You can dream of a few scenarios where a team loses and maybe ends up winning Region 11, but Ridgeline, they've got 2 games after this one. Bear River, Mountain Crest, Riverhawks. I would doubt they lose either of those games. I know Mountain Crest Ridgeline is a rivalry, but Ridgeline is a really good team, and Green Cane has only 1 game after this one. Yeah, it looks like
they just have Westfield left.
Yeah, just Westfield. So whoever wins this wins the region. If Ridgeline wins it, then I think they actually might clinch at least a share, I think. I mean, not because they could theoretically lose both of the next 2 games. So I guess they wouldn't necessarily clinch a share, but they could then do that if they win against Bear River next Wednesday. So this is effectively, it's your de facto Region 11 title game, and I think it's going to be fantastic. It was a close game last time. You have the 2 teams that I think, out of all the teams in the region, these are teams that have good length, they have skill, they have good defense, they have good offense, like just about 1 through 5, in their lineup cards. Whichever lineup they're throwing out there, they'll have guys that can shoot, handle the ball, rebound, pass, like everything. They just have skill top to bottom, just balanced teams. Green Cane does have kind of the superstar in Jude Haig, where he's averaging like 24 a game. Ridgeline doesn't have that, but again, nobody on their roster is like this A+ guy in high school, but they're all like B+ A level players, where they can all defend, they can all pass, they can all shoot. They can all score. They can do a little bit of everything. So there's maybe not one guy to focus on, but one of those guys is probably going to score. They're going to have 5 guys score 10 points, and so that's kind of the thing that makes Ridgeline so hard to deal with. Is every one of their guys is good, but Green Canyon is pretty similar. Like, they do have Jude Haig, but like, you don't go 19-1 with just one guy. Everyone else has to be good as well. And so many of the other guys on Green Cane are really good as well. So I think it's going to be a spectacular game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That is certainly the headline game of the night, but there are others on the schedule. Skyview is at Westfield. You'll hear that here on The Fan tonight with Hurricane John Newbold, and Ryan Grunig will be on the call down at Westfield High School. The other game on the schedule is Bear River hosting Mountain Crest this evening, and 2 teams kind of separating themselves right now. Ridgeline and Green Canyon are fighting for the top of the region. Other teams are fighting for playoff positioning. And is there a chance that maybe you get a first-round bye? Ridgeline is probably the only other. Ridgeline and Green Canyon, the only teams that are in that consideration. But do you have to travel for the first round, or do you get to host a first-round game when it comes to the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of these teams. Logan probably the only one that's just completely out of contention for that. Although Mountain Crest is struggling a little bit too. So now you're trying to get I forget where they're on the RPI. I think Mountain Crest was lower than Logan on the RPI last time I had checked. But yeah, that is something they're obviously fighting for late in the season.
So if you want to hear the Bear River broadcast, that'll be on 104.9 The Ranch in Box Elder County. We'll have there's a way to listen to that game as well on Cache Valley Daily. If you want to watch the game, you can go to Cache Valley Daily. It'll be the Mountain Crest version of that game, which will also be on 107.7 FM in Cache County. So multiple ways to follow that game over in Garland this evening. And then there's another game actually tomorrow, late afternoon, Logan hosting Bear River, 5 o'clock tip-off in the Grizzly Den, the Battle of the Bruins.
Battle of the Bears.
Battle of the Bears.
Neither of them are Bruins.
Well, they're both Bears. There's the Bears and the Grizzlies.
And Bears.
Yeah.
I guess you're saying Battle of the Bruins because that way you're not saying
Bears. It's a
Bears.
generic term, yeah.
But Bears is the generic term. Bruin is like a specific kind of bear.
So Battle of the Bruins just rolls off the tongue a little bit easier.
The Battle of the Bears has fewer syllables.
I guess that's true. That does the same.
That's how I always said it. And I'm the play-by-play guy, so I'm the authority on it.
Yes, so that works.
Unless they've been saying Battle of the Bruins for years, and I'm breaking tradition by saying
No,
that.
I don't think they have been.
But yeah, I think that one could be a fun one. I know Bear River kind of had their way with Logan last time out. The Grizzlies have struggled where they've dealt with some health and some youth among some of their key positions. The biggest thing for Bear River is, can they slow down Reed Olson? Some teams have managed to do that with some pretty intense post defense, just double and triple team him, hope nobody else hits shots. Sometimes it works. Mountain Crest found out it doesn't always work. So, and then Reed Olson went for 25 and 17. So I think it could be an interesting game there in Logan.
And a reminder, it'll be at 5 because of the Aggie coverage that'll be happening on KVNU. That game will only be on 104.9 The Ranch, but it will also be video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. So if you want to check in on that one, you can do it online. Got to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we got a couple of texts we'll get to and some final thoughts here on the Full Court Press.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. This one's for the guys. Girls, you can plug your ears for just a minute. Guys, Valentine's Day is a minute away. Here's the plan. Buy tickets to the dinner and a show at Lionheart Hall that we've got going on right now, and buy a mattress at My Mattress. I'll say that again. Buy tickets to the dinner and show at lionhearthall.com and have a brand new mattress from My Mattress delivered to your house for Valentine's Day. I gotcha. Only at My Mattress and lionhearthall.com.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Young Power Sports text line is 435-339-0321. 5338 texting in. Will the FCP be providing full play-by-play coverage of the Cache Valley Skijoring Championships tomorrow? No. Man, I don't even know if they'll have snow.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like you strap your snow skis on and you get pulled behind a horse. It's like water skiing, except on snow. And instead of a boat, it's a horse.
That's like a horse-drawn carriage, but without the carriage.
Yeah. It's supposed to be at the fairgrounds. Now, there's supposed to be a storm front coming through tonight. I hope they get some snow on the ground for that, or it's going to be a muddy mess.
The only sporting event I expect myself to be watching that isn't Aggie-related will probably be the Bathurst 12-hour on Sunday.
The what?
It's a race in Australia.
The Bathurst 12-hour?
Yeah, Bathurst. Mount Panorama. It's a race.
Oh, what kind of race?
It's an endurance race.
Running?
Sports
People?
cars. It's sports cars.
Oh, sports cars. Okay.
I watched the 24 Hours of Daytona last week. So I didn't watch the whole thing. Obviously.
You didn't stay up?
I was sleeping for half of it. But this one's a little shorter than that race. Not half as long.
8739 texting in. How soon before high schools start legally recruiting?
I mean, they almost can at this point. Like, they basically do. They're just stealthy about it. I mean, just ask Ridgeline how they get most of their good athletes. It's not like recruiting, but it's like relationships with players as they're up and coming through the Pee-wee ranks and all that. So, like, they basically can recruit, but they can't recruit like once they get to high school. And even then, like, it's tricky. And then Layton Christian, they like recruit internationally. And there was a ruling where like UHSA was trying to stop that, but they can't stop that.
You're right. They just recently made a change on that.
So they kind of already can with some minor restrictions, just depending on how smart they are about it.
8003 is the Mountain Crest versus Bear River streaming tonight. Yes.
Yep. CashValleyDaily.com. Then also again on radio 107.7 KLZX and
104.9.
I always mix those two up.
Yeah. But if you want to watch the game, you need to find the Mountain Crest versus Bear River event on Cache Valley Daily, and you can watch it there. So, final thoughts here. Just Utah State and New Mexico, really big showdown tomorrow. It's a decent schedule of Mountain West games, but really there's only the one game that's like saucy, and that's the Utah State game.
Like, you have a couple games I think can be close. UNLV Nevada I think should be a good competitive game, but it doesn't have the pizzazz of Utah State against New Mexico. Like, there was social media posts earlier today like talking about how just all of the college games, like some of the great ones, like, you got St. Mary's Gonzaga and some other, obviously some big top tier matchups, but one of those they listed was Utah State, New Mexico. It's one of the biggest mid-major matchups. It's probably the biggest mid-major matchup of the weekend. So that's the one I think a lot of people will be tuning in for, and obviously has could have some pretty big ramifications, especially in the short term, potentially over the long term.
Yeah, so get there. Make sure you are there if you have tickets. If you have a ticket and you can't go, man, make sure you find a good home for it, because we need a good, large, excited crowd that can impact the game, because it could be a doozy between these two teams. New Mexico, that's a good team. They've got some really good players. Utah State is a great team that's got a lot of great players as well.
Yeah, that usually makes for a pretty dang good basketball game.
Yes. So reminder that as you're out and about and getting ready to go up to the Spectrum, or if by chance you wanted to go but it was sold out and you couldn't go, make sure you have your radio on hand or the KVNU mobile app on hand. Pre-game coverage for KVNU Game Day will begin at 6:30. And then that pregame will go all the way up to the tip-off, and then there'll be full play-by-play coverage on KVNU. And then as soon as the game is over, and you hear after the coaches' comments, they'll switch to KVNU Aggie Call to get your reactions to what happened. But great insight and analysis from Jalen Moore, Stockton Jukes, and J.D. Walker will be on the way. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. And then on Monday, we'll be back here on the Full Court Press to break it all down ourselves and see what the latest looks like for the rest of the Mountain West standings and the second half of the season as it starts to unfold through the conference.
Will either be whining about a loss or whining about a win. One of those two things.
One of those two. Updates with the latest with high school RPI as well, as they're nearing the end of their seasons and the high school playoffs just around the corner. That'll do it for us tonight. Have a great one. We'll see you back here on Monday.
The home for Sports Talk Radio. KLGN Logan. 106.9 FM. 1390 AM. The Fan.